Okay, we are the team number 5, and we're going to talk about the interpersonal and naturalistic intelligence. The next slide, please. These are the team members: Castañeda, Olvera, Jonathan, Enríquez, Zamora, Sergio, Guzmán, Olivera, Bernardo, Palomares Mar Christian, Torres, Rico, José, Armando, Téllez, García, Fátima, y Zamudio, Saldierna, Erick, Bernardo. Now, what is the intrapersonal intelligence? Well, basically, the intrapersonal intelligence is how well you understand yourself. The intrapersonal intelligence is one of the distinct intelligence in Dr. Howard Gardner multiple intelligence theory. The intrapersonal intelligence as evolving the capacity to understand oneself, to have an effective working model on oneself, including one's own desires, fears, and capacities, and to use information effectively in regulating one's own life. The next slide, please. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the characteristic of the people with this kind of intelligence. One of these characteristics is that the person with this intelligence is intuitive. He's also self-aware. He spends time reflecting. He likes to learn about self. He's also a psychological person. He's also independent. He enjoys journaling and he works well alone. Now, please the next slide. Now, what are some examples of this intelligence? Well, here in the slide I have four, but I'm going to tell about some examples. The other ones are the ability to analyze their strengths and weaknesses well, enjoy analyzing theories and ideas, have an excellent self-awareness, understand the basis for his or her own motivations and feelings. They are daydreaming. They love to explore their relationships with others. They can easily apply what they have learned to their own lives, um, and they have a strong intuition. The next slide, please.
Well, now I'm going to talk about an example of one person with the intrapersonal intelligence. This was Virginia Woolf. She was a 20th century British writer. In her writings and essays, she stands out for her analysis, her feelings and emotions, both in the present and in the past. Virginia made inversions in her own inner world with the aim of better understanding herself, and later reflected her reflections and conclusions in her writing. Um, the factor of this of his work was the culture explained. She works in himself to search ways to be better and write the progress to share it with others. And the people doesn't know too much about her, so it was not so famous. The next slide, please. The next one is Carl Jung. Um, he has this intelligence because he was a Swiss psychologist and psychiatrist. He born at the end of the 19th century. Jung had a high capacity to pay attention and analyze his own feelings and emotions, which led him to investigate them in depth and finally elaborate theories. This was so important to much think, and part of his method was based on self-knowledge and exhaustive analysis of his own person. He founded the School of Analytical Psychology and made great contributions to the field of psychology that are still valid. Again, he have the culture factor because the theories that he write was made to share with the interested persons in the self-knowledge.
Okay, now let's continue with the activity. This activity will be a guess who. Next slide, please. Here we have the instructions. For this activity, I need the support of all the group. I'm going to apply a questionnaire in a Google Forms. The questions will be about your personality. I need the whole group to answer the questionnaire, and I will give you 2 minutes to do it, and you can start now. Okay, the time is over. We're going to start with the activity.
So this person is a woman or a man?
A man.
His age is maybe 19, 20? 20. Yes? No?
No.
So he's 19. 19
Yes.
years old. Does this person is considered as an intelligent person in the group?
Yes, he is.
Does he is chubby or slim?
A little bit chubby.
So this person likes to make like a lot of friends.
Yes, he does a lot of friends.
Okay, and this person is kind of like charismatic and or is like a I don't know how to say it, like a
Well,
it is charismatic or isn't?
Yes, he is very charismatic.
Okay, so I'm a man. Okay, well, the person is a man, is charismatic, is friendly. So this person, it could be I don't know, it could be Guzmán.
No, he isn't.
But you say that it was chubby, so it could be Rodo.
Yes, Rodolfo is the first person.
Okay.
We have another two persons to guess, so we are going to continue with the next one.
What is the sex of the person? Does he's a boy or a girl?
It's a boy.
What is the favorite color of this person?
the light gray.
Does he like to talk in the group?
No, not a lot.
Does he perceive himself as an intelligent person or something like that? Or does he perceive himself like he has a very IQ?
No, he doesn't think that.
Does he work alone or he prefers to work with people, like in teams?
He prefers to work alone.
This person is César Olvera.
Nope, he isn't.
Okay, then
This
this
person
person
is Carlito.
Carlitos, no.
so does this person is well it is friend with a lot of people in the group?
Yes, I think he's friend of all the group.
So actually people in the group like him.
Yes, that's right.
It could be Max.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, he is Max. Okay, so we are going to continue with the third and the last person.
What is the age of this person?
He's 19.
Do you say she or he?
He.
He, so it's a boy again.
Yes, it's a boy.
Am I friend with him?
Yes.
He prefers to work with people or alone?
He prefers to work with people.
What kind of animals does he like? He likes hamsters or dogs or cats.
Yes. He loves the hamsters.
If it is a boy and it's a friend of mine and he loves hamsters, I think it is Cesar hamster.
Yes, the last person is Cesar Emiliano. Okay, so this is the end of the activity, and this activity is very useful so that each of you can get to know yourself better. Because maybe you can perceive yourself in one way, and the people around you can perceive you in a different way. So this was the activity of the interpersonal intelligence.
Well, now I'm going to talk about what is the naturalistic intelligence. The first question is, what is the naturalistic intelligence? Well, this type of intelligence allows us to relate to the environment and other species. This is in a simple words, but according to Gardner, naturalistic intelligence is the ability to identify, classify, and manipulate elements of the environment, objects, animals, or plants. It is believed that this intelligence developed in the times of the first human beings, when survival depended on recognizing useful and dangerous species, on observing the climate, on breeding the land, or expanding the range of resources available for food. This intelligence allows us to recognize differences between species, and a characteristic of children with this intelligence show an inclination towards the natural world, as well as towards what human beings have created. Characteristics of people with naturalistic intelligence. Well, there are some characteristics. The first one is they express a desire to understand how things works. They care about the environment and like to be in touch with nature. They are good at identifying fauna and flora. This is like they have some kind of ability. They like to explore and discover new species and behaviors. And the last one is they show an interest in science careers like biology, botany, chemistry, zoology, etc. This is because with this intelligence, you have like an inclination to some careers otherwise than others. Next one is activities that develop naturalistic intelligence in childs. There are 5 activities. The first one is contact. The second one is observation, exploration, classification, and the last one is hobby. Well, I'm going to talk about each one. The first one is contact. This means like nature walks through the woods or in the mountains, camping, visits zoos, an aquarium, etc. The observation is that with nature, with this type of intelligence, it is important to closely observe the environment. The exploration is, well, how I can say it. You can use a magnifying glass or a microscope or binoculars to help you to make the experience more interactive and entertaining. The classification is the fourth one. It is with help of parents, books, or the internet, the child must learn to classify what
Jonah, bueno, no dejes de grabar, nada más deja que entre Guzmán de nuevo y que explique desde el principio. Sí, yo le digo a Armando.
A ver, ¿aquí se me escucha o no? ¿O se me sigue escuchando cortado? Hey, ¿se me escucha o se me escucha cortado?
Se escucha bien.
¿Normal? Ok.
Sí.
Si se vuelve a cortar, me vuelven a enviar mensaje. Voy a volver a empezar entonces, a ver. Ok. Ahí me escuchan entonces, ¿verdad?
Sí, ya se escucha bien. Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going to talk about the naturalistic intelligence. The first is, what is the naturalistic intelligence? Well, in simple words, we can define this type of intelligence allow us to relate to the environment and other species. According to Gardner, naturalistic intelligence is the ability to identify, classify, and manipulate elements of the environment, objects, animals, or plants. Thanks to this type of intelligence, we are able to recognize the differences between species, groups of people or objects, and understand how they relate to each other. Naturalistic intelligence is believed to be developed in the times of the first human beings, when survival depended on recognizing useful and dangerous species, on observing the climate, on reading the land, and on expanding the range of resources available for food. The naturalistic intelligence in children children with this intelligence show an inclination towards the natural world, as well to what human beings have created. The characteristic of people with naturalistic intelligence. They express a desire to understand how things works. They care about the environment and like to be in touch with nature. They are good at identifying fauna and flora. They like to explore and discover new species and behaviors. And the last one is they show an interest in science careers like biology, botany, chemistry, zoology, etc. What kind of activities can develop naturalistic intelligence in childs? Well, there are 5 here as example. I'm gonna explain each one. The first one is contact. It involves natural walks through the woods or in the mountains, camping, visit to zoos and aquariums. The observation is this type of intelligence. It is important to closely observe the environment. The exploration, you can use a magnifying glass, a microscope, or binoculars to help make the experience more interactive and entertaining. Classification, with the help of parents, books, or the internet, the child must learn to classify what they find. They can create a field diary with annotation and photographs. And the last one is hobby. Encourage the youngest to have hobbies such as planting seeds at home or collecting fossils, stones, leaves, etc.
Temple grandin. My team and I think she has Savant syndrome because at 2 years of age she was diagnosed with brain damage, and years later she was diagnosed with autism. Thanks to her mother, she was able to receive personal therapy. Why does she have that MI? Temple Grandin is a zoologist, ethologist, and professor who discovered her fascination with animals and their behavior at an early age. At age 16, she spent her holidays on her own farm, which inspired her to study psychology until she achieved a master and doctorate in zoology with a specialization in ethology. She is considered one of the first scientists to study in depth the behavior of animals, especially farm ones. At a very early age, she created the box of hugs, which is a tool that is used today to provide tranquility to children with autism, like her. This idea was developed thanks to analysis she made about how cows calm down when they were put between 2 metal plates. Today, Temple Grandin is an advocate for animal welfare. Her idea has always been the defense of dignified life and death for animals. She has the environment factor because thanks to her relatives and the farm that her own, Temple Grandin was able to acquire knowledge, inspiration, and be in contact with everything related to farm life, dealing directly with animals and how to process with it. Another advantage she had was the importance that her family had in educating her, spending her fortune so that despite being different, she could develop and learn. In addition to this, she obtained the support of a tutor who encouraged her to create the box of hugs.
The next person with the naturalistic intelligence is Charles Darwin. So why does he have that MI? Because from a very young age, he showed a great fondness for collecting and classifying shells and minerals. He developed a love for nature thanks to his family. During his life, he developed this intelligence more and more. So Darwin was clear that he didn't want to dedicate himself to an ecclesiastical career, but instead undertook a trip around the world dedicating all his life to the investigation of nature, thus developing the concept of natural selection and the well-known theory of evolution. Both form the basis of the modern evolutionary synthesis. In the MI factors, we have the genetic factor, because in his family there was always interest in the study of nature, mainly on the part of his grandfather. So, from a very young age, Darwin learned to love knowledge of the natural. Uh, Already at a more mature age, he decides to dedicate himself to academic research on nature, carrying out research on his own, developing the contributions that we already know.
So the next thing we're gonna do is a little activity, and it is shown in the presentation. As you can see, we're gonna try to guess some ecosystems or some habitats that you will see in the images. So in the next slide, you will find the first habitat. And as you can see, this habitat that has a lot of green and a lot of animals. So I'm gonna give you the first hint in order to you to guess this ecosystem. So the first hint in this is that this ecosystem is lush and has a very large vegetation. So I don't know if you have any clue of what I'm talking about.
It can be a river.
No, it is not a river because it doesn't have any body of water. The second hint I'm gonna give you is that this ecosystem has great diversity of fauna and also flora species.
Tundra.
No, it is not tundra. Last one. These ecosystems are most of all are temperate. There can also be tropicals and also coniferous.
Coniferous. It must be forest.
Yeah, it is a forest. So in the next image, as you can see a mountain and you can see animals. The most important thing is that you can see a mountain. So I'm gonna give you the first hint, and this is actually the answer of the ecosystem. So this ecosystem, it is always extremely cold, and this is its climate that is very cold. No? Anyone? I'm gonna give you another hint. It has a low rainfall. Low rainfall. No?
It can be mountains.
No. It has mountains, but there's not an ecosystem. So the last hint, it has low biological diversity.
It must be a tundra.
Yeah, it is a tundra. So in the final ecosystem, we're gonna find that this ecosystem, it actually has a body of water. Well, it is a body of water, this ecosystem. And the first hint that I'm gonna give you that these are float zones, and they can be also temporary or permanent. There's the first hint.
Lake.
No, it ain't a hint. It ain't a lake. Sorry. The last hint is that wetland waters can also be standing water. They can be also running water, fresh water, blackfish, or salt water.
Wetland.
Yeah, it is a wetland.